Welcome back to the channel. I'm super excited about today's video, guys. So if you've watched my last two videos, I've showed you exactly how to capture all of the attribution, capture where your leads are coming from, capture all of the UTMs, capture your Google Click ID. And in this video, I'm going to show you the easiest way to send all of that information back to Google as offline conversions so Google can optimize your campaigns and increase your overall performance. So let's dive in. So what I'm going to show you first is what it looks like on an account that actually already has all of this set up. And so these are all offline conversions that are being sent by the GoHighLevel system directly to Google. And if you see, I have my own little naming convention here, but you guys can really name these conversions anything you want. But what I have is GHL conversion open, booked, showed, pending close, and closed, right? And open is basically a lead if they booked, if they showed, if they're pending close, and if they actually closed. And you'll notice that these are all currently set as secondary. They're not being utilized to optimize the campaigns, just kind of waiting on data to pass through. But you can see all of the conversions that went through, and you can see the value of those conversions as well. All right, so let's dive into the GoHighLevel system a little bit so I can show you guys kind of what this looks like when you're setting it up. And then I'll show you guys how to set up all of these conversions and how to optimize your campaigns. So first things first, what I'm going to do is create a folder. Okay, so I'm going to create a folder in my automations here, just to go with the naming convention that I currently have. And we'll call it AdWords Conversions. All right, within the folder, I'm going to create a workflow. And now there's multiple ways to do this, but what I'm going to do is just kind of lump it all together into one workflow. I definitely recommend maybe splitting them apart depending on how you're doing it, but I won't go too deep into that. But the main thing that you have to know is the actual workflow action, right? You can trigger off of anything you want for offline conversions. So if you're capturing all of that attribution, you can trigger off of a contact created, you can trigger off of a form submission, you can trigger off of a phone call received, you can trigger off of an appointment booked, payment received, really anything you want. You can trigger off of a contact field being changed, right? So what we're going to do is once you trigger it, we're going to send in an AdWords conversion, and it's add to Google Adwords, which is a workflow action that's native to the system. So add to Google Adwords, and then you want to select the conversion. Well, we don't have any conversion actions set up on this account. So I'm going to show you guys exactly how to do that, and then we'll come back and we'll set up the workflow. So going into Google itself, let's say you just logged in, you go to Tools, Conversions, okay? You'll have a lot of conversions already set up, most likely on your account. Depending on how old your account is, or if you already have conversions you're utilizing via website actions or online conversions, right? Or if you're using like Google Analytics. And so really, these are all conversions that are currently here. A lot of them are set to primary. Some of them are set to account default goals. And we're going to go over all of this so you guys can fully understand not only how to create a conversion, but how to use it and what it does, okay? And so coming all the way down, these are all the conversions currently in this account. And what I'm going to do is create a new conversion action, okay? And when you do that, you're going to want to use import because we're going to be importing offline conversions. So you click here and we're going to do CRMs, files, or other data sources. So I'll select that. And we're going to track conversions from clicks. All right. Now we want to just skip this step. We don't need to put a data source right now. And we're going to continue. And we're going to select a category. And so these are really how you want to sort your data, but it recommends qualified and converted lead. And basically, this is importing qualified leads from an external source to the Google Ads account. And this is converted leads from an external source to the Google Ads account. We'll go with converted leads for these. And we're going to go ahead and enter a conversion name. So we'll say GHL test lead for the first one we're going to create. We're going to add it, but before we save and continue, we're going to go to settings because there's a few settings that you guys want to set up properly. So coming in here, so we have converted lead, conversion action optimization options. What we want to do, at least to start, is set them as secondary actions. And we can change this. I'm going to show you guys how. But secondary action basically means your campaigns aren't going to start optimizing off of this as a primary conversion action, at least not to start, right? So we'll start with secondary action. And we can always change that to primary. I'm going to show you guys how. Coming down, conversion name, value. So you can use the same value for each conversion. You can use a different value for each conversion, or you can use no value. I definitely don't ever recommend using this because you want values, because eventually you want to get to the point where you're telling Google, I want you to make me this much money off of what I'm spending. Okay. And we'll talk a little more about that. But I have seen people use the same value for each conversion, which is fine, but I prefer to just use the middle option, which is use different values for each conversion. And the reason for that is it's basically the same as the first one, but the difference is you can send in custom value conversions. And if you don't send a conversion value, it defaults to whatever value you want. So if, let's say, I were to use $100 here for a lead, right? Well, if I use this instead, and I ever have leads coming in that are slightly more valuable for some reason, then I can send in higher values for leads. And if I don't, then it's still going to say 100, right? So I would recommend using the middle one just because you always have the fallback of that default value. All right, so we're going to say a lead is worth $100. All right, now for count, you have every, so it counts every conversion that comes in as a new conversion, or you have one, it counts that conversion one time, right? I recommend using one. Every is more for like e-com. If somebody's coming to your site and it's the same person, but they're purchasing 6 different things over 2 weeks, then you might want to use every because everyone matters, right? But we're just going to use one because these are offline conversions and I only want to count them one time, okay? Moving on, so we have click-through conversion window. So 90 days is the maximum, and it's basically like how long Google remembers the click that created this conversion, right? And so I always recommend to use the maximum, which is 90 days. You can lower it, but 90 days is a pretty good baseline. And then overall attributions. You have data-driven and you have last click, okay? So last click basically is I only want to give credit to the very last click, whereas data-driven is I want to look at the whole journey and attribute where I think some things may actually be attributed or should be attributed. So I recommend data-driven just because it allows Google to see the whole picture. But we're going to go ahead and create and continue. And now you're going to see that we have a new conversion action. It's GHL test lead, and it's a secondary conversion currently, right? And we're going to go through and we're going to create 2 more of these just so I can walk through the process again. You guys can get a better feel for it. So just coming back up to the top, new conversion action, import CRM files. We're going to go track conversions from clicks. We're going to skip this, and we're going to select the same converted lead category. We're going to say GHL test, and we're going to call this one booked appointment. All right, we'll add that one. We'll go to settings, and again, we'll go through them. We're going to set this to a secondary, same name as we just put, use different values. We're going to say bookings are worth 400. So maybe we'll say we book, or every time we well, let's say 500 to make it easy, right? So let's say we close 1 out of 2 of every person that's booked. And every close we have is worth $1,000. Well, that means that a booking's probably worth about 500 to us, right? So I'm going to use 500 here. I'm going to again say 1, 90 days, data driven, and create and continue. All right, and let's create just one more for now. New conversion action, import, CRMs, files, other data sources, track conversions from clicks. Skip this step, continue. Converted lead, and we're going to say GHL. Test, closed deal. All right, we'll add that. We'll change the settings here. Converted lead, we're going to say secondary action. We're going to use different values. We're going to say that this one is as a default $1,000. So a close is worth $1,000. We're going to say one time is the maximum. We're going to create, and again, 90 days, data driven, create and continue. All right, so now we have 3 new conversions created, okay? Now we have lead, booked, appointment, and closed deal, okay? They all have their own values, 100, 500, and 1,000, okay? Now, once we create those, we can start to utilize these from GoHighLevel to send conversions in. And I'm going to show you that right now. I'm going to build out a workflow for you, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to use these conversions properly within your AdWords account. So coming back in here, if you'll remember, we went to AdWords and there's no conversions, and now there are, right? So now we have the 3 conversions I just created. So you have lead, booked appointment, and closed, right? Again, we can trigger off of anything. So if I wanted to, let's say, create a workflow and I wanted it to trigger off of a new lead, I might trigger off of a form submitted. And then I might also trigger off of, let's say, a call received, right? It'd be call status, and then it would be call direction incoming. And then I might also want to filter this down to say in number pool, which is the number pool I created in my last video, right? And now you know that you received a call from your website because of the number pool call, or you received a form from your website and a lead was created by one of those triggers. And so now I want to send in a lead conversion, right? And it's that easy. If I were to draft this and save it, we could call this GHL AdWords. Well, actually, let's do a naming convention. So one lead conversion sent, okay? And then publish it. And now we have a lead conversion set up, okay? Now I can go back and I can say, okay, well, I want to send appointment conversions as well, right? So I might duplicate the workflow. We'll call this to, and we'll say appointment conversion sent, okay? Now you could trigger this off of whatever your appointment trigger typically is, right? So like, for instance, you could come in and take away these, and let's say the trigger is going to be customer booked appointment, right? And you could say customer booked appointment. Okay, perfect. I want to trigger that into this, or I can say appointment status changed. And if like you're booking appointments yourself within the system, then you could like basically narrow it down to a certain calendar group, whatever you want to do, right? But I'm just saying you can trigger off of anything. So if a custom field on a contact record is changed, that could be your trigger. If a payment is received, that could be your trigger. But I'm going to come in here and I'm going to change this to booked appointment. And now if a customer books an appointment, it comes through the conversion action and boom, now you have a conversion being sent to Google for appointment created worth $500, right? And then if I wanted to do it again, I would come in, I'd probably duplicate this, and I'm going to say 3, and I'm going to say closed conversion sent. We'll create that, and we'll come in here, and give me a second. So we're going to delete this trigger. We'll just create a new one, and this would be payment received. Okay, so if the payment's received, that is my trigger, and my conversion would be close deal. Perfect. Now I have a conversion being sent to Google when anybody closes, when they pay me, right? One thing to keep in mind, if you're built, like you can build all of this out in one workflow. Just remember the one golden rule, which is allow reentry, because you want to make sure that people can get back into the workflow for down funnel conversions and get sent over to Google, right? There's a lot more I could talk about as far as like how the conversions are split if they go down the pipeline, right? But we're not going to focus too much on that. So now we have 3 workflows set. And if we get a new lead, conversion sent. If we get an appointment, conversion sent. If we get a payment, conversion sent. And so now all of those conversions will start populating into Google. And so let's talk a little bit about how we utilize that when creating or setting up a campaign to optimize our campaigns, or to allow Google's algorithms to optimize our campaigns, which is really where the money is. So coming back to Google, we're going to come over here. We're going to say, actually, let's go back to those conversion actions, right? So let's say we have some data coming in, right? Right now, if you look, these are all individual goals: phone call lead, contact, get directions, converted lead, right? These are all individual goals. Well, within the individual goals, some of them can be marked as account default goals, right? And so if you look at this one, there's account default goal for 2 sources, right? And so if you edit this, and you can actually say, do not use contact website as an account default goal. And if you save those changes, then that goes away. And so now, by default, your account is not using this goal and everything underneath that might be primary as a primary goal, right? But let's say we want it to. So let's say these start populating and we want this entire section to be our default goal when we set new campaigns, right? Then we would come in and we would edit the goal and we would say use it as an account default goal. But it's still going to look down at the individual conversions and it's going to say, okay, are any of these primary? Because I only want you to use the primary ones, and Google will only use the primary actions in order to optimize your campaign. So if you have all of these as secondary, it's not going to use any of these. And so we can set all of these to primary, which isn't necessarily best practice, right? Because really, I mean, you might want to A/B test and say, okay, well, I want to use like leads and try to generate more leads, and I want to use book to try to generate more people that are likely to book an appointment, or I want to use closed as people more likely to use my service, right? And so if you do all three of these, then Google is going to look at all of them and probably assume that it's doing better than it is, right? But for now, let's mark all of these as primary actions, and I'm going to show you one other way to do something like this, which is to create custom goals. Now, custom goals can be specific to something that you're looking to do, right? And so instead of like using a big goal here as an account default goal or a specific conversion action, you can actually set different conversion actions from different sections to be an actual goal that you can use within your campaigns. And so you can add a custom goal. So as an example, let's say I want to create a custom goal that is get me more bookings. All right. And then I'll use GHL test booked appointment, which is a booked conversion action, as the goal and the conversion for this goal. Right. And so now I have a custom goal to get me more bookings using only booked appointments here. All right. So now that that's all set up, this is an account default goal. These are primary actions, which means I can have my campaign start optimizing with the conversions I'm sending in. Let's go ahead and create a campaign so I can show you guys exactly how it works, how you can utilize these conversion actions and go from there. So, all right, going into campaigns, let's just create a new campaign here. We're going to say we want more let's say leads. All right, and right now it's looking for account default, right? Which is that converted leads section. And so it's not even letting us not use it, right? Because it's just going to essentially default to it, but you can add a goal here. We're just going to skip this for now, and we're going to come back to it. So we're going to do a search campaign. We're going to say website visits. If you start to do lead form submissions, I'm probably going to make a video on those and getting native attribution because it's not easy to do with GHL. But either way, we're going to go website visits. Let's go ahead and put in a website. All right, and we are going to, let's just call this book, I don't know, let's just say top of funnel, TOF campaign. All right. All right, what do you want to focus on is the next question, right? And so this is where we kind of get into the actual bidding strategies of your campaigns. And so starting down here, like this is the baseline. This is impression share. This is get my ad in front of as many people as possible, right? Then you get into clicks, and it's like, okay, I want to get more people to click on my ad, right? Get more traffic to my website. And then there's conversions, and this is saying I want more conversions, maximize my number of conversions. So if you're using, like, let's say booked as your primary conversion goal, then it's going to try to get you more of those bookings, right? If you're using closes as your primary conversion goal, it's going to get you more of those closes, right? That's Google in the background optimizing your campaign. This is the base level of using conversions to enhance your campaigns. But it gets even deeper than that once you get into conversion value and target return on ad spend, which we're going to talk about a little bit. So even conversions, you can set a target cost per action, right? Which is basically saying, I only want to spend this much to get it, right? But we're not going to set anything right now. We're just going to continue creating this campaign. We're going to say, for this one, United States only, English is already there. We're going to turn off broad match. We're going to use specific keywords when we set up our campaign, only use the assets I provide. You can go into more settings, which is ad rotation, the start date, the ad schedules, if you want to get into ad schedules, URL options, which we've already solved if you watched my video 2 videos ago. And then brand restrictions. Continuing, you can utilize their, I believe it's their AI to help you create keywords, but I just want to create it myself. So we'll go through and next, and then average daily budget. Let's go 1 penny per day. Next, keep it going. What? Let's go 2 cents. It didn't want me to create it with 1 penny, apparently. but I can publish it for 2 pennies. All right, so I'm going to publish it, and now we're going to actually optimize the campaign. We're going to change it a little bit, right? So let's go into campaign settings. And so again, like looking at all of those conversions, you can look at overall goals, right? And by default, it's at use account goal settings, but you can get way more specific with this if you want specific goals. And this dives into like A/B testing different campaigns and like what kind of goals you want to try testing to see if one performs better than the other because you're using different conversion actions. But either way, because you're passing this information back to Google, you're allowing Google's algorithms to optimize your campaigns. And trust me, you cannot outsmart Google. You just give them the information and you let them optimize your campaigns. All right, so we're going to say use campaign-specific goal settings. You can choose campaign goals. And here you can select any primary conversion action, right? Which this is converted leads. That's all 3 underneath it. And then we have contacts up here, but also you have your custom goal, which is get me more bookings, right? So this custom goal is only using this one conversion action, which is the bookings, right? And so if I use this, then now this goal of this campaign is going to be get me more bookings, get me more people that look like the people that booked appointments with me, right? So we're going to go ahead and save that. And then beyond that, let's talk a little bit about bid strategies here. So we already know that with that booking conversion action, every conversion is worth $500 to us, right? And so when you get into the actual bid strategy, right now it's just maximize conversion. But if we know that our bookings are worth 500, then we can actually get more granular with it. And so we can change the bid strategy. And again, we talked a little bit about these. So we have impression share, which is just getting in front of more people, clicks, get more people to click, conversions, get more conversions, right? Get more bookings in this case. And then we have conversion value. And so it's almost like you're going down funnel. And so once you get to conversion value, because you're passing through conversion value, now Google's going to say, okay, well, if this is the primary conversion action for this campaign, and they're telling me that I'm making this much, then I'm doing really well. Or I know that I'm making them more money because I'm getting them more value with the value that they're passing back with their conversions. Gets kind of complicated, but that's the base level, right? So maximize conversion value would be this bidding strategy. But beyond that, if you want to actually have a target specifically to hit based on what you're spending, this is like the bottom of the funnel. This is like the best you can get, which is set a target return on ad spend, which is a TROAS, right? And let's say I want, in order to be successful, I need to make 300% of every dollar spent. So for every dollar I spend, I need to make $3, right? You can tell Google, hey, that's what I want to get. And Google will optimize your campaigns for that. And you can do this because you're passing through conversions with value. Massive. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and save this. And that's it. This campaign is all set up, right? And so now we have all of our workflows set up. Let's dive back over here. So we send in leads, we send in appointments, we send in closes, right? We have all of our conversions set up within AdWords. We have our campaign set up that's utilizing those conversion actions, or at least the booking conversion action, to maximize our return on ad spend. And we're all set. And so that's how you set up all of your offline conversions. If you haven't watched my first 2 videos, go watch those, because it's going to tell you exactly how this works, because you're going to capture all of your attribution from anybody coming to your website, knowing that they came from Google, and you're going to capture all your phone calls, and then you can come in, set all of this up, and start to optimize your campaigns for yourself or for your clients. Hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, like and subscribe. I also have a link down below. If you need some help with any of this, you can set yourself for an hour-long call with me. There's a calendar set up down below. I'm also putting together some packages if you guys want me to build all of this out for you, which would also include like your Facebook conversions and your Microsoft conversions. So I'll probably have that link down there at some point. Beyond that, again, like, subscribe, watch my other videos. Everything will come together, and hopefully this helps you guys, and hopefully it provides some massive value. I will look forward to the next video.